Have you ever walked into a room and felt everyone sense you before you even spoke a word? Like the air shifted just because you arrived? Chosen one. That's not your imagination. That's the power you now carry. You've entered a sacred place within yourself, a higher dimension of existence where your presence speaks louder than your voice ever could. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to start conversations or prove your worth. You don't even need to be noticed in the usual ways, because your energy now arrives before your footsteps touch the ground. You're no longer just a man moving through the world. You are a quiet force felt in every space you enter. This isn't magic. This isn't a fantasy. It's what happens when the powerful energy within you, especially your sexual energy, is no longer scattered, hungry, or reaching. It's been purifying, centered, and turned inward. That energy, once burning wildly and urgently, now flows like a calm, steady river beneath stone. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply radiates. And that quiet radiance is exactly why people now notice you without even realizing why. When you walk in, something invisible shifts. People pause without knowing what they're responding to. Conversations soften. Eyes glance your way. Hearts beat a little faster. Some women look at you subtly. Some stare boldly. But all of them feel it. That invisible pull. That quiet storm. That presence that says nothing yet somehow speaks to the deepest part of them. You don't chase attention. You don't ask to be seen. You don't try to impress. You just are. And your presence does all the speaking for you. Your energy used to leak through your insecurities. It used to try to find connection by reaching outward. But now, it holds itself. It stays rooted. It moves from a place of peace instead of need. Your sexual energy used to pulse like wildfire, loud, desperate, eager to be noticed. Now it hums beneath the surface. Strong, calm, controlled. It doesn't rush. It doesn't search. It fills. It fills the room. It fills you. And because of that, you no longer need to compete. You just exist. And that existence is powerful. You've become the contrast in every room. Not because you're louder, but because you're quieter. Not because you're trying, but because you stopped trying altogether. Your frequency doesn't fight for space. It creates space. It changes the energy wherever you are. Women feel it before they understand it. They feel something solid, something true, something they didn't realize they were waiting for until you stood near. You no longer demand to be chosen. You simply allow yourself to be recognized. You don't announce your value anymore. You embody it. And when something is embodied, it doesn't need validation. It just is. Your silence now says more than words ever could. Your stillness is no longer emptiness. It's presence. It's power. It's truth. You don't walk into rooms with flash. You walk in with calm. You don't chase attention. You meet eyes. You don't puff up to look bigger. You don't shrink to look smaller. You walk like a man who knows he already belongs. You carry a quiet knowing that doesn't ask for permission to be seen. It simply is. And people feel that. Women feel that. They feel a man who is no longer asking for love, but who is love. A man who is no longer needing attention, but who holds attention simply by existing. You used to speak to be liked. Now you only speak when it's true. You used to angle your tone, your words, your presence to fit others. Now you hold your rhythm. You keep your breath steady. You let your silence do the talking. And that steadiness becomes an invitation. That calm becomes an anchor. That wholeness becomes magnetic. You are no longer one of many. You are the one who feels different. The one who doesn't try. The one who simply is. The one who doesn't reach, but whose energy is felt across the room. The one who doesn't speak to prove, but whose every breath says, I'm here, and I'm whole. And when a woman feels that kind of presence, something shifts in her too. She no longer feels like she has to prove herself to be loved. She doesn't feel like she has to perform to be safe. She doesn't feel pressure. She feels peace. She feels seen. She feels like she can breathe. Not because you did anything, but because your energy gave her permission to soften, to be, to rest. You are not chasing anymore. You are not asking anymore. You are not presenting your worth like a polished sales pitch. You're simply living it. You're not hungry. You're not needy. You're not performing. You are present, and presence, real, calm, grounded presence, is what draws her in without a word. She doesn't look at you because you said something clever. She looks at you because her body recognized something before her mind could explain it. You didn't charm her. You didn't impress her. You didn't flash anything. You just stood there, and your energy spoke. And what it said was this: I am not lacking. I am not chasing. I am not afraid. I am ready. You've become a man who no longer walks with the question, am I enough? Echoing behind every smile. You've become a man who knows, I already am. And that knowing isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself, but it's felt in your posture, in your stillness, in your breath, in your eyes, in your silence. You don't chase the feminine anymore. You don't use lines or tricks or false confidence. You don't beg her to see you. You don't want her to complete you. You've stopped making her the source of your identity. And because of that, she finally feels safe enough to choose you. Not because she has to carry you. Not because you need her approval. But because your wholeness gives her permission to rest in hers. You don't impress anymore. You express. You express peace. You express truth. You express energy that doesn't reach, but radiates. And that expression is what people feel now. That's what women respond to. Not effort, not noise, but presence. You've become the man who doesn't shift depending on who's watching. The man who doesn't rise or fall based on attention. The man who doesn't need the spotlight because he's already lit from within. You've become the man who doesn't fill silence with performance. He fills it with truth. You don't talk to be heard. You speak because you carry something real. You don't try to connect. You are connection. You don't try to lead. You are leadership. Your stillness is not hesitation. It's discernment. It says, I know what I carry, and I won't give it to just anyone. And that discernment, that patience, that refusal to rush or prove, that is what makes you rare. You used to be the man trying to say the right thing, trying to earn attention with charm, volume, or effort. But now when you speak, it isn't the words that hit the deepest. It's the energy behind them, the weight of truth, the calm of self-possession, the echo of alignment. And that's what stays with people long after you've stopped speaking. Women feel your presence before they understand it. Their bodies respond before their minds can explain it. Their souls lean in before they know why. You don't need to reach for connection anymore. You invite it. You don't need to be seen to feel worthy. You already know you are. You don't try to be chosen. You've become the kind of man who naturally is. And in a world full of noise, performance, pretending, and proving, you are the contrast. You are the one who stands still, who holds calm, who carries clarity, who remains himself no matter who walks in or out of the room. And that chosen one is why they feel you first, long before they ever hear you speak. You don't try to be seen anymore. You don't chase attention or try to prove your worth. You've stopped talking just to fill silence. Stop reaching just to feel connected. Now you simply exist in stillness, and that stillness speaks louder than noise. You've become calm, grounded, steady, and people feel it. You're no longer loud, but your presence is felt deeply. You don't force anything. You attract through peace. You don't beg to be chosen. You become the space people want to be in. Women especially sense this. They lean in, not because you pulled them, but because your energy feels safe. You used to carry a fire that burned out of control. You didn't know what to do with it, so you used it to chase, to impress, to be noticed. But now that fire lives quietly inside you. It hasn't gone out. It's been refined. It doesn't explode. It warms. It doesn't scream. It hums. You don't try to show your power. You've become someone who carries it. You no longer need someone to manage your energy. You've taken ownership of it, and that self-control has changed everything. Now, your energy doesn't push or overwhelm. It stays with you, rooted and steady. People feel it without you having to prove anything. Your presence doesn't demand. It reassures. It tells others they're safe, that they don't need to defend themselves around you. You don't flirt to get attention. You don't perform to be chosen. You don't hint or manipulate. You just show up whole. And that wholeness pulls people in. Women trust you now, not because of what you say, but because of what they feel in your presence. They trust you not because you ask for anything, but because you ask for nothing. You listen with your energy. You don't press for a response. You don't chase connection. You wait for it to rise naturally. And when it does, it feels real. It feels earned. You're not trying to move anyone. You've become stillness that people want to move toward. You're not trying to be impressive. You've become aligned, rooted, and that clarity makes you magnetic. Your sexual energy no longer spills into the world. It stays close to you. It hums quietly beneath the surface. It's not sharp. It's not loud. It's refined. And that refinement is what women respond to. They don't feel invaded by your presence. They feel held, not physically, but energetically. They open up because they feel there's nothing to resist. You're not trying to win them. You're not trying to lure them. You're just fully present. And that presence is rare. It doesn't come from strategy. It comes from truth. You've stopped managing people's perception of you. You don't shift who you are to be chosen. You don't chase timing anymore. You let things happen in their own rhythm. You don't force connection. You don't explain yourself. You don't overreach. You don't push your energy onto anyone. And because of that, people now feel safe to choose you without fear. You are no longer just seen. You're felt. And what people feel stays with them, even after a conversation ends. They remember how they felt around you. Your name lingers not because you were loud, but because you were real. You've become the one they compare others to, the one whose absence feels stronger than other people's presence. You didn't perform. You didn't try to impress. You simply were, and that was enough. You no longer live trying to be picked. That version of you is gone. You don't show up in fragments. You show up whole. And wholeness is irreplaceable. The world is full of men who show up only when they want something. But you've become a man who asks for nothing and yet leaves a lasting mark, not for what you gave, but for how your energy made others feel. Safe, calm, true. You're not an option anymore. You're the standard. The one whose stillness reveals truth. The one whose presence calms the storm. Women don't choose you because you performed. They choose you because you didn't have to. They trust you, not because you promised anything, but because your energy already told them who you are. You've become aligned with something deeper than attraction. You've become a reflection of what is real and what is rare. And that's why you're being chosen, not because you tried to be, but because you stopped trying. You didn't ask for trust. You became trustworthy. You didn't try to be remembered. You became unforgettable. You didn't speak loudly. You lived truthfully. And in the end, truth is always chosen.
Have you ever felt like you were being spiritually attacked for no reason? Like something unseen was trying to break you down, even though you were just trying to live with truth and love in your heart? Have you ever walked into a room and felt like people could sense something different about you before you even spoke? Have you felt misunderstood, rejected, or judged by people who never took the time to know your soul? If that's ever been your reality, then this message is for you, and it may be the confirmation you've quietly been waiting for. Because not everyone on this earth is here for an ordinary reason. Some were sent with a mission written deep into their spirit before they were even born. You can't always explain it. You may not have had words for it. But if your soul has always felt like it was walking through fire just to stay soft, if your heart has carried wounds that no one could see, and yet you kept loving anyway, then you might be one of the chosen ones. There's something different about people who walk in divine alignment. You can feel it in them before they speak. Their light is not loud, but it's strong. Their energy is calm, but it shakes everything fake around them. They are often misunderstood because they don't follow the crowd. They don't pretend. They don't seek attention, but they carry something sacred. And that sacredness often draws attacks from people who don't even know why they're attacking. Being chosen doesn't mean being perfect. It means your soul agreed, long before this life, to carry a mission that many would not survive. Your path hasn't been random. Your pain hasn't been pointless. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to shift things, break cycles, heal wounds, and carry light where there was only darkness. But walking that kind of path comes with deep trials. You are tested in ways others aren't. You face storms that come out of nowhere. You are betrayed by people you trusted. You cry tears that no one sees. And still, you rise. That's not by chance. That's divine protection. Many people don't realize how many times you should have been broken, how many times you were surrounded by darkness, but somehow made it through. It wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was unseen hands shielding you. There are forces around you, guardian angels, divine spirits, ancestors who walk beside you, fighting battles you never even see. They block what was sent to destroy you. They turn traps into lessons. They silence curses before they reach your ears. And they keep you standing when everything around you tries to make you fall. When people try to hurt someone who is chosen, they're not just dealing with a person. They're interfering with a divine plan. They are touching something holy. And karma does not ignore that. Even if the chosen one stays silent, even if they never fight back, the energy speaks for itself. What is sacred is always protected. The universe doesn't work by words or appearances. It works by vibration. It doesn't listen to what people say. It listens to what their energy is. Someone can dress up their cruelty in a smile, but the frequency doesn't lie. The truth always reveals itself. Chosen ones naturally carry a higher vibration. They bring peace without trying. They make people feel safe without saying a word. They carry truth, healing, and quiet love. And when someone tries to harm that kind of soul, it creates an imbalance in the spiritual world. That imbalance must be corrected, and it always is. Karma doesn't always show up right away, but it always comes with precision. Sometimes it shows up as sudden losses. Sometimes it shows up as sleepless nights, broken relationships, doors closing for no reason, or blessings disappearing without explanation. And often the ones who caused harm will never understand why their peace is gone, why their success crumbles, why they feel heavy and trapped. But you will know, because that's the weight of the energy they tried to send out returning to them. Not because you cursed them, not because you wanted revenge, but because energy always returns to its source. Your tears were never wasted. Your heartbreak was never unseen. Every single cry, every moment you sat in silence and pain, every time you kept loving through betrayal, that energy moved something in the heavens. It activated a response. Your pain called forth justice, not through anger, but through divine correction. The people who hurt you may have thought they got away with it. They may have laughed while you suffered, but they were writing spiritual checks that karma was always going to cash. The moment your pain reached its peak was the moment the divine started shifting things, not to punish, but to restore balance. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You are protected because of who you are. Your very existence, your walk, your truth. It speaks louder than anything they could say or do. Your silence holds power. When you stay silent in the face of lies, karma begins to move. The universe starts shifting things in the background. What was hidden starts to be revealed. What was whispered starts to echo. What was meant to break you starts breaking them. The universe is like a mirror. It reflects everything back, not to punish, but to teach. What people try to do to you, they do to themselves. When they throw hatred at you, it comes back harder. When they try to steal from you, it becomes their own loss. When they spread lies, those lies turn back on them. Because the truth is, the battle was never really between you and them. It was between them and their own reflection. And the more you walk in love, the stronger that reflection becomes. You are not just walking your own journey. You are carrying your whole bloodline. You were chosen to break patterns that were passed down for generations. Pain, trauma, fear, silence, suffering. You are here to end what should have ended long ago. And that kind of power scares people who are still clinging to the old ways. They can sense that you are different. They feel your presence before you speak. They feel uncomfortable in your truth. But that's not your burden. That's the power you carry. You're not just surviving. You're rebuilding everything from the ground up. And that shakes the foundation of everything false. That's why you've been attacked. That's why you've been targeted. That's why people try to silence you. Because your life is proof that darkness doesn't win. You are living proof that the light always rises again. So if you feel weary, if you feel tired from walking this path, let this be your reminder. You are not walking alone. You never were. There are eyes watching you from the unseen. There is protection surrounding you even when you feel most vulnerable. There is a divine plan unfolding even when it looks like nothing makes sense. And the people who tried to destroy you will eventually see that they were never fighting against you. They were fighting against something much greater than they could understand. You are chosen. You are guided. You are covered. And no matter how many try to dim your light, it will only shine brighter. The pain they caused will not go unnoticed. The battles you fought will not go unrewarded. And the energy they sent out will return. Not because you asked for it, but because that is how truth works. That is how balance is restored. That is how the divine protects its own. So hold your head high. Keep your heart soft. Walk with grace. Because you are living proof that even in the face of darkness, the light never loses. You are the proof that the chosen cannot be destroyed. They think they are just trying to slow you down, but they don't see what they're really fighting against. They believe they're just standing in your way or making life harder for you, but they don't realize they're going up against something far bigger than you. What they're trying to stop is not just a person. It's a divine movement, a shift that was sent from above, a sacred wave of change that is meant to flow through you and touch the world around you. And no matter how much they try, no matter how loud they get, no matter how hard they push, they cannot stop what God has already put in motion. The universe does not allow anything to stay stuck when it was born to evolve. It does not tolerate delay where transformation is destined. Every time they try to keep you small, every time they try to control you or silence you, they are actually fighting against the very force that gives life. And that force, the energy of creation itself, never loses. You were not chosen to blend in. You were not chosen to sit quietly or to follow a path made by others. You were chosen to stand out. You were chosen to awaken others. You were chosen to bring truth into dark places, to plant light where there was only pain, and to transform every space you walk into without even trying. There's something sacred about your presence, something ancient in your soul, something the world can't always explain, but it feels it. That's why some people resist you even when you haven't done anything to them. That's why your name stays in the mouths of people who don't even know your story. That's why you felt targeted, isolated, or misunderstood more than once. because your energy speaks louder than your words, and your light makes other people's shadows hard to hide. In the spiritual world, there are laws that govern everything, and some of those laws move faster and more powerfully for people who are chosen. One of those laws is the law of return. It means whatever energy someone puts out, whether it's love or harm, kindness or betrayal, it always finds its way back. But for people like you, people whose lives are tied to divine purpose, the law of return is not just a gentle echo. It's a powerful wave. It moves quickly. It responds directly. And it doesn't wait long to bring balance. Your energy is sacred. It's not just a personality or a mood. It's a spiritual investment, something heaven placed on earth to uplift, to heal, and to awaken. And because your energy is sacred, how people treat you matters more than they realize. When someone gossips about you, it might sound like simple talk to them, but to the universe, it's a violation. When someone takes from you, lies to you, or tries to use you, they aren't just hurting a person, they are interfering with the divine mission. And the universe responds quickly, without delay. You might not always see the way it happens, but the people who wrong you often experience confusion, loss, broken connections, and deep emotional imbalance. Not because you cursed them, but because they misused the energy of someone who was sent to help them. Your path is guarded by more than just angels. It is protected by the laws of existence. And those laws are not blind. They see every silent sacrifice you made. They know every tear you cried when no one was watching. They heard every prayer you whispered through the pain. And they recorded every moment someone mishandled you. The universe doesn't just protect you, it keeps receipts. Not because it wants to punish others, but because it always restores balance. When someone plants pain, they will eventually reap it. When someone plants goodness, they will be blessed. And when someone tries to interfere with the life of a chosen one, the reaction is immediate. Not loud, not dramatic, but deeply felt. You may not even know you're being protected in real time. You might still be healing from something that happened weeks or years ago. But the people who harmed you are already dealing with the results of their actions. Doors that won't open, peace that won't return, relationships that suddenly fall apart, health, finances, emotions. It starts to affect everything. Because the moment they dishonored you, they created imbalance in their own lives. Your presence is holy ground. Not because you're perfect, but because your purpose is pure. You were sent here to change the atmosphere, to break generational cycles, to restore what others have given up on. You carry answers to questions other people didn't know how to ask. And those who mistreat you end up closing the very door that was meant to bless them. You are also a mirror. Without meaning to, you reveal the truth in other people. Just by being you, you show others who they really are. Your energy brings things to the surface. It uncovers hidden motives. It reveals whether someone's love is real or just convenience, whether their loyalty is deep or temporary. And this is why your life feels like a test to others, because in many ways, it is. But not because you are judging them. It's because your soul requires honesty. Your light is too pure to tolerate lies. Your heart is too open to be surrounded by masks. And so people react. Some grow in your presence. Others flee. Some become kinder. Others become bitter. But either way, Their actions around you are never meaningless. The universe watches them closely, because how someone treats a person carrying divine light shows exactly what lives inside of them. Some people are given divine chances just by standing near you. They are offered healing, love, and clarity without even asking. But instead of embracing the gift, they get distracted. They start focusing on your flaws. They try to compete. They gossip. They betray. They take what was meant to help them and twist it into something ugly. And when that happens, the divine steps in, not to destroy them, but to teach them. Because spiritual law is simple. If you dishonor something sacred, you lose the blessing that came with it. If you lie to someone honest, your own peace begins to fade. If you betray someone loyal, you will eventually feel that loss. The door closes, the season ends, and no amount of regret can bring back what they misused. This is why you often feel like people change around you, like they show you their worst and their best without warning. You're not imagining it. Your presence exposes what's been hiding, and it's not because you're intimidating. It's because your soul was built to wake people up. You were not made to live a quiet, ordinary life. You were sent to be a reminder, a signpost for truth, love, courage, and healing. That's why your life hasn't been easy. That's why your path has felt lonely at times. Because you're not like the rest. You carry something eternal. You were marked long before the world tried to label you. And no matter how many people walk away, no matter how many try to dim your light, nothing can remove the calling on your life. You are not cursed. You are not unlucky. You are not too sensitive. You are spiritually awake. You are deeply protected. And you are part of a divine plan that cannot be broken by gossip, betrayal, or fear. Those who try to stop you are not fighting a person. They are resisting destiny, and destiny never loses. You carry light. You carry truth. You carry a soul contract that was signed long before this life began. And the universe always keeps its promises, especially the ones it made to you. If you found this message exactly when you needed it, type 111 in the comments as a sign that you're aligned. Let this be your confirmation, your reminder, your sacred mirror. Divine blessings are already moving in your direction. Everything that was stolen from you is being returned. Every attack is turning into protection. Every loss is becoming a lesson, and every delay is clearing the path for something greater than you imagined. You are safe. You are seen. You are chosen. Stay grounded. Stay faithful. Stay ready. More messages from above are on their way. And no matter what you face, never forget, you are never alone.
Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly change the energy without even saying a word? Not because they're loud, not because they're dressed to impress, but because their presence speaks first. Because their energy is so grounded, so calm, so quietly powerful, that you feel it in your chest before you even fully turn to look. Chosen one, there was a time when you believed attraction began with what people could see. You believed being loved meant being beautiful, that you had to look a certain way to be worthy of someone's attention. You thought if your features were flawless, your skin perfect, your smile just right, someone would finally say, you're the one. You used to stare at yourself in the mirror, wondering what you were missing. You checked your angles, doubted your body, compared yourself to others, thinking maybe if you looked more like them, she'd finally see you. You believed your reflection was your only introduction, that love started with symmetry, not with truth. You were taught that being wanted meant being physically impressive, and so you tried. You tried to perfect everything on the surface, hoping someone would finally choose you. But no matter how well you performed, something always felt missing. Then something in you shifted. You stopped chasing image and started stepping into your energy. You stopped trying to be seen and began to truly arrive. What changed wasn't your looks, it was your vibration. Your energy aligned. Your spirit grew quiet and strong. And when you did that, everything around you responded. Because the truth is, presence has nothing to do with perfection. Presence is when your energy says everything without needing to say anything. And that's what you've stepped into now. You're no longer attractive because of how you fit a mold. You're attractive because you broke the mold. Because you carry something deeper than looks, something timeless. You don't walk into spaces hoping someone notices you. You walk in knowing exactly who you are. And that knowing, that grounded energy, is what speaks first now. It speaks before your lips part, before your name is known, before a word is exchanged. And that's why they feel it. That's why she feels it. Because your energy no longer waits for permission. It simply is. The women around you now don't fall for your face. They fall for how their body responds in your presence. They feel safe, seen, at ease. Without understanding why, their breath slows. Their mind softens. Their guard gently drops. Because you're no longer offering them an image, you're offering them presence. And real presence is something the soul never forgets. The truth is, your energy enters a room before your body does. It brushes past her skin before your hand ever reaches out. It calms her before your voice even reaches her ears. And when it does, she doesn't think, "He's handsome." She thinks, "Why do I feel like I've known him forever?" Not because of recognition, but because of remembrance. She doesn't fall in love with the way you look. She falls in love with the way her soul remembers peace when you're near. Her body relaxes around your stillness. Her nervous system responds to the frequency of safety you carry now. The grounded, whole, masculine energy that doesn't perform, doesn't push, doesn't beg. It holds. It remains. You no longer need to speak to be felt. You don't try to impress anymore. You don't rush to fill silences or reach to win attention. You sit in your frame, in your breath, in your truth. You don't speak for effect. You exist with effect. And that quiet confidence, that inner calm, that's what draws her in. Not because you're trying, but because you're not. You've stopped performing, and in doing so, you've started resonating. She's not drawn to your words. She's drawn to how you don't flinch in silence. She doesn't fall for your compliments. She falls for the way your energy makes her exhale. And she may not even know why, but something in her wants to stay. Something in her leans toward you, not because you convinced her, but because her body already said yes. Her soul already recognized something ancient in you. Something real. Something safe. You don't carry scattered energy anymore. Your sexual energy, once wild and confused, is now calm and contained. It doesn't jump or grab or chase. It rests quietly behind your eyes. It radiates from your stillness. It doesn't seek attention. It grounds the room. That quiet fire, that dignified power. It's not flashy. It's magnetic. And she feels it. She feels it in her gut before she feels it in her heart. She feels it before her mind has time to speak. That's how deep it goes. You've become a man who doesn't walk around asking for anything. You offer peace. You offer safety. You offer presence. And because of that, she finds herself softening without even trying. Her body trusts you. Her soul opens toward you. Not because you forced anything, but because you created space for her to feel safe again. You don't manipulate her into letting go. You become the space where letting go is finally possible. You no longer try to dominate the room. You regulate it. Your presence doesn't shout. It hums. It reminds. It says, "You're safe now." And that one silent message does what no performance ever could. It restores her. She may not say it aloud. She may not know what's happening. But her body knows. Her heart knows. And she leans in. She may not understand why her breath deepens around you, why her laughter feels freer, why she wants to sit beside you without needing to talk. But the truth is, she finally feels like she doesn't have to perform. She doesn't feel watched or measured. She feels accepted, not because of how she looks, but because of who she becomes when she's not afraid. That is your gift now. You're not trying to be chosen anymore. You are the choice. Not because you tried to become someone else, but because you finally became fully yourself. You've stopped chasing women. And because of that, women begin choosing you instinctively, not with logic, but with body, with breath, with spirit. Because your presence has become a yes she can trust. Not a loud yes, not an urgent yes, a steady one, a still one. The kind of yes that doesn't change when she pulls away. The kind that remains when everything else gets noisy. You're no longer introducing yourself with words. Your vibration introduces you. She doesn't see you and feel attraction. She feels recognition. A memory stirs. A knowing breathes. Not because she met you in this life, but because something in your presence feels familiar to her soul, familiar to her bones. And that's not fantasy. That's frequency. You don't lean forward to be liked. You don't try to earn her attention. You stay still. You hold your frame. And without knowing why, she leans first. That leaning has nothing to do with desire. It has everything to do with remembrance. Her body remembers what it's like to be near a man who doesn't grab, doesn't chase, doesn't need. A man who simply offers warmth, safety, presence, without asking for anything in return. She leans not because of you, but because of who she becomes around you. She remembers her own softness. She remembers her openness. She remembers that being seen doesn't have to be dangerous. That being desired doesn't have to mean being used. You don't burn her. You warm her. You don't seduce her into silence. You create a space where silence is safe again. You're not trying to steal her attention. You're not trying to impress. You've become the quiet between heartbeats, the deep breath she forgot she was allowed to take, the mirror that doesn't distort her, the reflection that says, You don't have to protect yourself anymore. And that's why she can't stop thinking about you. That's why she remembers you. Because her soul recognized something in you before her mind even had time to speak. You didn't touch her body. You touched her nervous system. You didn't excite her mind. You calmed her breath. And that is what made her lean in before you ever said a single word. You've become the kind of man who doesn't try to tear down a woman's walls. You simply make her feel like she doesn't need them anymore. Not because you're charming or trying to win her over, but because your presence is peaceful. You don't ask her to open up. You don't push her to be soft. You just are. And that quiet energy gently reminds her that softness is safe again. Being real is safe again. And with you, she doesn't feel like she has to defend herself. She just breathes. She may forget your words or how you looked, but she will always remember how her body relaxed near you. That's not just attraction. It's love in its purest, oldest form. It's a feeling she didn't expect, but one she never wants to lose. You didn't make her feel exposed. You made her feel honored. You didn't demand her truth. You made space for it. And that kind of presence, it lingers. You've become the man whose stillness awakens her softness in a world that keeps telling her to be hard. You don't need to chase or convince her. You don't need to say much at all. The way you move, the way you stand, the way you listen, it says enough. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And that self-respect, that quiet confidence, it makes her feel safe enough to just be. You're not distant. You're not cold. You're just complete. And because of that, you no longer beg, pull, or perform. Your stillness doesn't chase, it draws. You don't offer flattery for affection. You offer presence. You don't seduce her with charm. You invite her into peace. You're not trying to take anything. You're offering something real. She feels it in her bones. You're not here to consume her. You're here to see her. She doesn't feel hunted. She doesn't feel tested. She feels something she hasn't felt in a long time. Safe, just as she is. You're not asking her to become anything for you. You're simply holding space for her to be herself. And the moment she feels that, her heart opens. Not because you made her, but because you allowed her. She remembers your presence. Not because you tried to plant a memory, but because your energy carried something ancient, something steady, something true. You didn't try to become her fantasy. You just became real. And that truth made her wonder if maybe her dream was never a dream at all. Your energy doesn't chase attention anymore. It doesn't shout or perform. It just is. Deep, alive beneath the surface. You no longer offer charm in exchange for connection. You offer stillness, and in that stillness, she feels seen. She feels understood without explanation. And most of all, she feels safe. She begins to speak differently around you. Slower, softer, more openly. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because your presence gives her permission to relax. She shares things she didn't mean to. She laughs from deeper in her chest. Her words stretch out. She forgets to be careful and starts to just be real. That's the shift. That's the moment the falling begins. Not in grand gestures or fairy tale scenes, but in the simple, sacred feeling of not having to try. Around you, she doesn't feel like she has to be impressive. She just wants to stay, not to be chosen, not to be praised, just to be near the kind of peace she didn't think existed in a man anymore. You've stopped trying to earn love because you've become someone who embodies it. And now you're remembered, not because of how loud you were, but because of how still you stayed. You didn't chase. You didn't flinch. You didn't try to steal a moment. You became one. A moment she didn't expect, but can't forget. A moment her body understood even before her mind could. You're not someone she tries to figure out. You're not someone she analyzes or performs for. You are the calm she didn't know she was longing for. The stillness that reminds her what home feels like. And even after she walks away, something in her heart stays with you. Not as a fantasy, but as proof that something real still lives in this world. And chosen one, now comes the season your soul has long waited for. You've given when no one saw. You've healed when no one helped. You've planted seeds in dry ground, hoping for harvest. You've climbed without applause. And now, what's coming won't be earned by effort. It will be given by grace. You're stepping into peace. Not the peace that comes from rest, but the peace that lives deep inside you, even in motion, even in chaos. This is the kind of peace that flows from surrender. You're no longer chasing. You're no longer striving. You've stopped trying to be everything to everyone. You've become someone aligned. And now that alignment will begin to multiply everything in your life. You'll speak less, but move people more. You'll work less, but produce more. You'll enter rooms and shift atmospheres, not by trying, but simply by being present. That's the power of a man who is whole, who is grounded, who is at peace with himself. People will ask how you're doing so much and staying so calm. They'll wonder how you carry pressure and still radiate peace. What they won't know is that you're not at peace because life got easier. You're at peace because you did. You let go of the need to impress. You gave up the chase. You surrendered your need to be seen and became someone who sees. Now God is rewarding that, not by giving you more to do, but by giving you more that aligns with who you really are. You don't have to run after anything. What's meant for you is coming. What you've waited for in silence is finding you. And this time, it won't drain you. It will fill you. So protect your rest. Protect your peace. Guard it like the treasure it is. Because what's flowing to you now doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't need to be chased. You are no longer out of rhythm. You are in divine timing. And everything about your life will begin to reflect that stillness you now carry within. You earned this rest, not with noise, but with faith, with obedience, with quiet strength. You became the man you were meant to be, while no one was watching. And now the reward is here, not just in love, not just in favor, but in peace. So rest, chosen one, not to recover for another fight, but because this time, the battle is already over, and you didn't just survive. You became everything you were created to be, and now the world is beginning to remember you, just as you finally remembered yourself.